All right, let's get started. All right, there's a handful of people in here that don't have their cameras on. So it'd be nice if you actually turn them on. But what I wanted to start this in kind of like, this is what you shouldn't do mode. So you can see my face is really dark. And it's just kind of washed out. And so what I'm going to do is turn my virtual background off and show you what's happening. Okay, so behind me there's two windows, and one of them is quite bright. And I have some room light in front of me. My desk is kind of floats in the middle of the room. And you know, the other thing you really shouldn't do is kind of tipping up this way, looking up your nose, right? That's a problem. But having all that backlighting, that's exactly opposite of what you want, because you go into silhouette. And this picture here on my ear, when you're doing a virtual background, if that's what you want to do, and I'll show you reasons why we want to do that, that could create, you know, kind of weird halos against my hair because it's almost the same color. So I'm not going to add any light in front of me, but right now I'm just going to block out these windows and take that photo down. You'll see the difference. So, foam core. All right, so just with that, you should be getting a little bit better difference. There's still a lot of bright light coming through there. But what I'm going to do too is, to avoid this camera looking up at me, I'm going to take a stack of, this is my bulb binder from a couple years ago, right? This is, you know, good 3-4 inches thick or something. And I'm just going to take my computer, raise it up, stick it on top of that, right? And now I'm pointing down. Now my screen is almost perpendicular to, you know, the keys. And I'm sitting down at my desk and things are looking better already, right? This room has not great lighting in it. So I'm going to go further. And actually, I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do. So we come around here, you can see it's not a very well lit room. Got guitars and amplifiers and stuff like that over there. But what I have is this photo light, and I'm going to pop that on. And that's kind of pointing up at the ceiling. And now you can see me. So now when I turn my virtual background back on, I'm a well-lit kind of guy. So you see the difference? So easiest solution, if let's say you weren't doing a virtual background and you were at home, you have a long dining room table with a chandelier in the middle of it, sit at the head of the table, my wife is doing that right now, actually, and turn the chandelier on. You have great lighting in front of you. You probably have a nice background behind you, and you can take it from there. So that's kind of like one-on-one stuff. Now I'm going to take it a step further. Now, you can do this with a chair. This happens to be a, it's kind of fading in and out, but this is a snare drum stand, and box that my laptop came in. And I'm going to, once again, lift up. You know, I don't know if you can, I'm going to turn the background off again. Okay, so now I've taken this snare drum stair and the box of my laptop, put that in, and now I'm going to put it on top here. And now I'm standing at my desk. And the reason I say that is because if you're doing a buyer's consult or a seller's consult, you would never stand when you're at their house, but you have that kind of physical body connection, where if you want to mirror and match them, you know, they lean back, you lean back, you know, they're forward at the kitchen table, you're forward. The only way to kind of reproduce that and get that same kind of energy is by standing, right? So already I'm more animated, I'm more interesting to, you know, watch and stuff because I'm standing. My hands are moving now all of a sudden. So it just becomes much more of a dynamic presentation. The desktop version of Zoom, right? So you have an application, you can either go on Zoom on the web, or there's the desktop application. The desktop application allows you to add virtual backgrounds. That's kind of where you find them. And I think if I share my screen, I might be able to show you what that looks like. All right. So if you're in here, can everybody see this? Right, I see heads nodding. So under here, Zoom, preferences, and then I have virtual background, and then I have all these great backgrounds that I can put myself in. Maria's favorite, on the beach, right? And then that's kind of my go-to. All right, so why do you want virtual backgrounds? Well, if you're doing a seller's consult, wouldn't it be cool to just put their house behind you? Now you're standing in front of their house, right? Do the introduction, stuff like that, and then you can actually maybe move into, this is kind of right out of the KW listing presentation, but you know, your property, your guide. So I'm not going to share the screen anymore so you can see this. So if you're going to speaker view, so you see me big, and so you can actually bring up slides of things that you want to talk about, where you find your buyer, you know, and you kind of put anything you feel that you want to communicate with them here. This is, you know, a little bit about the app and the neighborhoods and stuff. If you're going to get them on a neighborhood smart plan to, you know, kind of keep them in touch with, you know, what's going on in their neighborhood as they're trying to sell. So that is, you know, something that I've actually used, you know, in buyer's consults. You know, I put in, you know, the process and the steps and stuff, and it's actually gone quite well. And then, of course, then you can go and share your screen and, you know, share actual documents and things like that. Susan, you got a question?
Those were on background?
Yeah, so they're basically, it's just like adding a picture to your background. The way you create those is on a PC, use PowerPoint. On a Mac, you can use Keynote if you have that. Why you use those and not like Word or Excel or anything like that is those allow you to save the slides that you create as JPEGs. So you can go to the export menu and it'll save all the slides that you just created. And also the aspect ratio of a standard slideshow matches the aspect ratio of a Zoom background, which is 16:9. So everything is, you know, in alignment anyway. You want to make sure that, you know, you have a decent amount of margin here and plenty of room, you know, between for your head to be. And then, you know, you get used to like, I need to move left for my head to move right and things like that.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you make yourself smaller and have the PowerPoint presentation flow back of you? You know, just as if I was, you know, on TV?
The easiest way to get this to go smaller is just back. You know, if I'm, you know, if I wanted to be smaller and then, you know, you wanted to make room for what's there, you know.
Because I do like to see you along with the slides. I
Right.
really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can just do, you know, actually point up here and you can say, oh, cold front coming in from the north. So, that is, you know, that's like the great thing about Zoom is that it allows you to do this. Google Meets really doesn't have that kind of background technology and stuff set up. See a question coming in. Please show how we did that again. So, so what? Actually putting the pictures in. I'm going to go share. Share. All right. So in Zoom preferences, we have a virtual background right here. And then if you wanted to add backgrounds, you can add an image. And then you can actually select, this is the ones I just added, so I'm not going to really add them again. I'm going to hold the shift button down and get all of them, right? And then I can open and it dumps them right in. So I'm going to cancel that. And then that's where they appear. So boom, boom, boom. I do find that once you quit Zoom and reopen it, these slides that you put in may not end up in the same order. So I would recommend if you're doing a listening presentation or a buyer's consult or something like that on Zoom, don't load them in until like, you know, shortly before the meeting, and don't quit Zoom until then. Because, you know, you want to make sure that, you know, if you're talking, you want to be able to naturally just, you know, not while you're looking and stuff like that, just kind of keep going through. And another thing that I wanted to talk about is something that I have not been doing on this call so far is I'm going to look straight at the camera, right? Don't worry about what you're looking like, right? If you look straight at the camera now, our eyes are engaged, right? Because you're looking at me, but if I'm looking at my screen, you know, it's not cutting it, right? So if I really want to focus on you and stuff, don't look at yourself on screen. Look at the camera. It goes same with a phone. You know where that camera is on your phone and stuff, and just stare straight at it. And that's best, you know, to keep that eye contact. Any other questions so far?
Do you have an attachment for your camera to your laptop? You know how you can plug it in for a USB drive and then the camera sits at the top so that you have a better view? Mine happens to be at the lower left.
Oh, yeah. I'm on a Mac, and the camera is dead center right at the top. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, lower left.
To adjust, you know.
Yeah, that's a little hard to look down in the corner.
What I have to do. Hello.
Well, that explains why some people are not looking at the man. All right, so so the other things that, you know, people have been using Zoom for, and I guess less of it now, but I think it's still a good tool, especially if you have, you know, a listing that you know is going to be a target for the New York buyers. You know, do a virtual open house. I mean, you know, why wouldn't you at this point? I think it's a great value for your sellers. So if you're going to do your public open house Saturday or Sunday, why don't you do a sneak preview Zoom open house on a Thursday evening, right? Everybody done with work and stuff, they can log in, they can get a sneak peek. And that's where, you know, you would want to publicize it. You could do a Facebook ad for it. You can put the link for the Zoom open house like right in the you know, the contents of it. And that's when you would want to have them, like this meeting was registration required, right? You can actually add a couple questions in there and stuff like that with limitations, but this way you don't necessarily have to use the Facebook lead capture form. because if they're going to log on, you're going to get their information, you know, from the Zoom registration. So I think the standard one is just email, but you can add phone number as a required field, and then you get everything you would get off of Facebook anyway. And then you got, you know, you're getting true interested people, you know, logging in. And you don't necessarily have to be there on a Thursday night. You can pre-record it, you know, the video of it, and then get on, share your screen, you know, roll the movie, and do a voiceover, a live voiceover over the actual, you know, footage of the you know, the walkthrough. And then this way, you know, you can literally, you know, you can stop it in midstream if somebody's got a question in the chat or whatever. You know, when we were, you know, when they were, people were doing it live, I think, you know, a good thing to do would be to have, you know, maybe Matt or John on the call and stuff, and then they can kind of give you financing options and, you know, what it would cost to own this house, especially if, you know, if it was in a low price point. It's like, you know, why rent when you can buy, you know, you do that whole storyline. So sometimes it's nice to have somebody else on the call and, you know, maybe reading the chat if you have a bunch of people logged in for that virtual open house. And Jackie, are you still on?
Hi, yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. Do you want to show how to set up that registration required?
Yes, I could totally do that. All right, so let me share my screen here.
I'd also like to add, this Kara and Jackie and I are working on a project, that there are KW virtual meeting backgrounds that they can access through Connect.
Yeah, actually this one I'm using is from KW.
Okay, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Those are there. If you just Google, if you put in Connect, search KW virtual meeting backgrounds.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, and if you go into designs, it allows you to, you know, you can actually take this. Now, this was a blank canvas back here, and I just inserted this photo that they had in designs. But you can put your own personal logo there or whatever, and your name and phone number, you know, whatever you want.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna share just my desk, this one. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
My Zoom? All right, beautiful. So when scheduling a meeting in your Zoom, obviously you're going to label it, timestamp it, etc. When you come down to here to registration, you're going to click required. This will give you a new link altogether for Zoom. So if you made a link and you need to go back and add registration, you're going to have to reshare that link because it's a totally different link. You'll click registration required. You'll put however you want to set it up. I like using a password as opposed to waiting room. Down here, you'll also notice that you can set it up so that anybody who enters your Zoom, you can mute them upon entry. And if you would like to record, you can do it either on the local computer or the cloud. I find the cloud is a lot easier to work with in previous experience. And this is through the paid pro program with Zoom.
Yeah, so if you don't have the paid account, you can't, there is no registration to click on. And
Correct.
Definitely don't activate the waiting room, because if somebody comes in late and you've started your tour, especially if you're live or something like that, if you're doing an open house, you don't want to have to keep monitoring the participants to add them and admit them to the waiting room. So they should be able to just come straight in.
Right. So let me just put this as test. So we're going to save this. Now, this is the link for registration. You also notice the word register is in there, so you know that you've set that up correctly. Down here, you can edit how you want to share the registration. So if I go here, edit, you can have it automatically approve or you can manually approve, depending if there are certain people you do not want to have on this particular event. You can send out a notification to yourself to let you know when someone has registered. You can even set a close registration after event date. That can be helpful for very large meetings, especially if you have a cap and how many people you want to be putting in to your event. I tend to allow people to join from multiple devices just because you'll find that sometimes their iPad's not working, or sometimes their phone's working, or they just need to call in. You want to get them the opportunity to actually be able to attend your Zoom. Let's see here, questions. So required, I always tend to put the first and last name and email required, just as a generic registration. If you decide to add anything else, like if you want to know where they're from, you can add that, the city, what industry they work in, that kind of thing. There's plenty of options here. And you can also add your own custom questions. So say, for example, for our Zoom for today, learning how to use it for your business, what do you find most difficult about using Zoom? Do you have any like questions that you want to add prior to the event, so that when you come prepared for this event, you'll know I'm going to touch on this topic, or I'm going to touch on this, or I'm going to go into something else. You can put that in there and add different options.
Yeah. But for an open house, it'd be great to know if they're, how soon are they looking to buy?
That's a great question.
Right.
Definitely. Okay. Any questions about this section here? No? Okay. All right. Was there anything else you wanted? Oh, so on the back end, after you've already had the registrants and you want to see the list of people, you're going to go here to account management. You're going to go to reports, and you're going to go to meeting. Okay. Once there, you'll know how many people have registered. So for example, we had a past event. When was this? August 26th, I believe it was. Search. We have a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So we had a huge event for the Racial Equity Town Hall for Realtors back in August. You would click on Generate. You can do all the registrants, continue. And then you would download. Once you download, you can use it as a CSV. Let me just use that, desktop, test, save. Okay, let me see if you'll be able to see it. Can you see this this little spreadsheet here?
No,
It's
No? Okay, let me.
no, it's a black screen.
black square.
All right, here we go. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So in here, you'll be able to get the requirements that you had asked for. First name, last name, email. And it'll also give you when they registered and their approval status. Some have canceled by themselves because they couldn't attend. And most of them were approved. And with that, if they don't register with their real email, they will not get the link to the actual event. So please keep that in mind. So that's one of the things why we actually add the email on there. So we know who's coming in, and so that they can actually be there. And then you would use this for your, you can upload this list to command for your contacts or any of your contact programs that you like to use, and you can go from there.
So you'd only have to click on the download on the top page, and it will take all of them, correct? Did you know what I just said? Jackie?
Yes. So, yeah. It'll do it by event though. So only by event will you be able to download, and it'll be a clean event, clean sheet for you to use.
For that specific event, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Can you set up an automatic thank you after the Zoom meeting is over?
I believe so,
Everybody?
yes. Let me go to meetings. Let me go to the test one I set up. I think I set it for next week. Here it is. Edit. So I go to save. So email settings over here, you can do a confirmation.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah, good point. try that again. Screen one, share. Okay, so in the actual meeting that you were working on, you go to email settings and you could send, let me edit this. You could send a confirmation email to start. I don't think you could send an automatic thank you. I'm not sure about that. Would anyone else be able to touch base on that topic?
Not that I know of. It was a great question though.
I think it
What do
sends you an automatic thank you when you register, but at the time, like not a thank you for attending. Although I think it kind of says thank you for attending, for registering. It'll say thank you for registering, but it doesn't say thank you for attending. So there will be something in the email.
And you can edit this portion if you want to add anything else. Because they'll automatically use their name, thank you for registering, and then you could put a blurb here too, if you wanted. But if you want to thank you for after attending, you can take that same list and add it to your command or even to your MailChimp, depending on what you like to use for your emails. You can have it already set up and scheduled to go out the day after, or the day, like maybe an hour after the actual event too. You can do that too, to get prepared. But you won't know until you have the full list of registrants. So that's.
Yeah. And that registration link, that registration link right near the top, that's what you're gonna share, or you can put it into bit.ly to shorten. That's what you're gonna, advertise if you're gonna send it out. So people click on that, be forced to register.
And you can go here, you don't have to log in unless you want to change the name of your link for bit.ly, paste and shorten, and it'll give you an automatic smaller link to work with.
Nice. Yeah, especially if you're sticking that right in the content of the Facebook ad or something. Yeah. You want it nice and short.
Exactly.
Any other questions? Guess not. I will say those backgrounds that I was using, I did tint the background of those slides gray, so it's not stark white. So you can set up your initial slide with the gray background and the logo, and then just, repeat that and add your other content, for each stuff, on the left. So I would definitely recommend, darkening down that background just a little bit.
I have a question, Ron.
Yes.
So when you find that you blend into your background and your virtual background is, gets in the way kind of, or you can't see yourself clearly, what do you suggest in those situations?
Looking at what's behind you. If you've got a lot of stuff, like right now, like Susan's background would be very difficult to do a virtual background because there's a lot going on behind her. Lucy's would be fantastic because it's just a clean background. That would be, I think the main thing. Make sure you have like the lighting, like I said, coming from in front of you. Turn mine off again. So mine's all neutral colors. I took that picture that was down behind me so it doesn't kind of like create like ripples on my head. Because that's what'll do that when you have a dark object and stuff. If I were to, I have a black jacket on, black t-shirt. If I had a tan blazer, I'd be a floating head because the tan blazer would just blend into the background, and that would be a problem. Also, like the color of my hair, if I was a blonde, my hair might go away, right? So in that case, if you are, if you do have blonde hair and, light complexion and, I would go all the way. I would put, maybe a light color top on or something like that, and then find a dark background to be in front of. This way, because you just want to create the contrast. So Lucy's fussing around, so she's slowly disappearing in and out because her skin tone is probably matching her background. But she's good now. So I don't know if it's like lighting is changing. So maybe a little extra light in front of you, helps. I don't know. They sell these LED ring lights. You can get small ones that just kind of mount on the top of your computer, and you can dial in how much wattage is coming out of that, so you're not blinded. So that's an option too. They have like little add-on ones. I see them in my Instagram feed all the time. So I'm not used to seeing this boring background of mine in my office, so I'll turn that back on. All right, so I think that pretty much covers it. So like I said, if you're going to create those slides, do them in either PowerPoint or Keynote. This way, when you're done, you can export them straight to JPEG format, and they'll already be the size and format that you need, and then just add them right in. All right. Well, I guess if there's no other questions, that should cover it. I think some of my earliest classes were on this subject too. So I think there's probably one where I actually show you how to build something in Keynote or PowerPoint. But I think you can probably figure it out without going back in history in the daily dose. All righty.
Thank you so much, Ron.
You're welcome.